What if we told you there are crab-like creatures on the rocky surface of Mars? Or what if we already have images of alien life forms having a good time on the surface of the red planet? Mars is a very exciting planet, as it would be our next best option for human civilization to flourish, and there is evidence that suggests that Mars, sometime in the past, might have supported life, at least non-intelligent life forms. All of us get excited when we see something very familiar or anything that has close resemblance to a life form on the Martian surface. And nobody can blame us, because that's exactly why we spend millions of dollars trying to find evidence for life outside our planet, or even beyond the solar system. Keep watching till the end to know more about the weird objects that we have discovered on the red planet so far. About 47 years ago, this picture made huge headlines in the space community when NASA's Viking 1 spacecraft was circling the red planet, snapping photos of possible landing sites for its sister ship, Viking 2. The spacecraft spotted the shadowy likeness of a human face. This enormous head, nearly 2 miles from end to end, seemed to be staring back at the cameras from a region of the red planet called Cydonia. But NASA quickly dismissed it as a huge rock formation on the surface of Mars which resembled a human head. But people believe that this could be leftovers from an alien civilization. This picture from Viking 1 ignited the hobby of people just finding random things in every photograph taken from Mars. This was also responsible for raising greater awareness of the psychological phenomenon known as pareidolia, which happens when your mind starts to play tricks on you to see things that simply don't even exist. This could also be the reason why paleontologists see fossils when they see unusually shaped rocks, or when we sometimes confuse rocks for evidence of alien life. More on this towards the end of the video. The best explanation so far for this huge rock formation that resembles a human head had to do with the effect of lights and shadows, giving the illusion of the eyes, nose, and mouth. This was also one of the best ways to engage the public when it comes to discussion about Mars and life on it, which reignited the interest in space exploration. The face on Mars became a pop cultural icon ever since then. It appeared in Hollywood films, books, magazines, and radio talk shows. That being said, there are a few who believe that the face could be an alien artifact, because of which photographing Cydonia became a priority for NASA, especially when the Mars Global Surveyor arrived on the red planet in September 1997, about 18 years after the Viking missions ended. This was extremely important for NASA, because of which the space agency ended up photographing the face as soon as they could get a good shot at it. And that's when, on April 5th, 1998, the Mars Global Surveyor flew over Cydonia for the very first time. The Mars Orbiter camera team snapped a picture 10 times sharper than the original Viking photos, and that's when they revealed that there was no alien monument to begin with, and it was just an illusion. All thanks to the lights and shadows. Nonetheless, it's extremely interesting to see that we are able to make out faces even from a piece of rock. Even then, NASA could not satisfy everybody, because the face of Mars is located at 41 degrees north Mars latitude, and it was winter in April of 1998, a cloudy time of year on the red planet, and the camera on board MGS had to peer through clouds to see the face, because of which the alien markings could have been hidden by the haze. In 2015, NASA reported spotting a pyramid on Mars. Does this indicate that there was an advanced civilization that might have existed on Mars, similar to the ones that created pyramids on our planet? Or is it just our brain tricking us into seeing several patterns that are not there in the first place? On May 7th, 2015, NASA's Mars Curiosity rover took a snapshot of a typical stone on the red planet. This image from the mission shows a rock which looks like a pyramid. This led many to speculate that it might be a result of intelligent sculptors on Mars, but for NASA, it's just an ordinary rock. NASA's Mars rover explanation team stated that the object was unlikely to be man or alien made, and rock formations which look like recognizable objects are extremely common. But nothing stops people from speculating about its origin. It could be just a part of a huge pyramid that is buried deep beneath the surface, or it could even be a marker stone for some ancient civilization. Even though this picture looks like some deserted area on Earth, it's actually a crab-like figure spotted on Mars. Science fiction movies represented alien life that looked very abnormal, resembling crab-like creatures. The best explanation for this now lies in the fact that this image is heavily compressed in a file format called JPEG, because of which there will be pixel artifacts and very fine details are almost impossible to extract, considering the distance the image was captured, and the compression simply does not help either. The other explanation is that this could be part of the rock formation, or it could be the deposition of sand. It is always interesting to see that there are very familiar patterns and shapes on the red planet too. Maybe we'll be able to see all this once we land on Mars. We humans have always fascinated about the idea of finding life on Mars, or the existence of life on Mars centuries before life flourished on our planet. In 2008, everyone was surprised to see an image that was taken by NASA robot Spirit, which showed a human-like figure resting on a rock enjoying the Martian view. As usual, the internet got all excited and suggested that the figure could also be alive, but according to astronomers, it's just a rock. But the truth is, we don't know what life on Mars looks like. Instead, whatever we know about life is the one that resembles life here on Earth, specifically human life. If you think 2008 was the last time we saw a woman on Mars, well, that is not the case. History was repeated in 2015. This picture was captured in 2015 by the Curiosity rover, which shows a woman standing on top of a cliff with long hair watching the probe. We still don't have any solid traces of life on Mars, even though there are essential elements that support life, like carbon, nitrogen, hydrogen, oxygen, and phosphorus on Mars. This image made its way to several UFO enthusiasts and alien conspiracy forums, where the circled figure was analyzed, and they have reached the conclusion that it shows a humanoid figure in a dress, standing and staring at the probe. Maybe this is just an amateur attempt of finding life on the planet from the massive archive of publicly available images sent back to us. But is NASA trying to hide something from us? Because this is the second time we are witnessing something similar to a human on Mars. Maybe we are looking at the wrong kind of life forms, because we are only known to the kind of life that we have on Earth. What if Mars hosts an entirely different kind of life that is totally alien to us? Maybe none of these objects are weird. It just stems from a skill that humans have honed over thousands of years of evolution. An instinctive ability to support patterns and find something familiar that every one of us is now born with. This is a skill that enables us to recognize things that are important without even thinking, like the sight of a smiling face, the sound of an alarming voice, or even the low growl of a predator. This instinct of ours is all about survival, because our ancestors had two choices: fight or flight. Or they might end up as someone else's meal. And it's crazy to think that we still have this skill of finding things that are not even there in the first place. It's a consequence of our brain's instinct to seek out meaning in ambiguous and unfamiliar images. Humans are particularly primed to find faces in unfamiliar places because of their ability to recognize a facial expression, and this ability alone is essential, a skill that is hardwired into our brains. Odd-looking things often pop up in Mars images all the time, but most of them are due to shadows, streaks of light, strange angles, and our very human propensity for assigning familiar names to random shapes, just like how we see things in clouds. One thing is for sure, our first discovery of extraterrestrial life is not going to come from some internet forum where members would talk about secret alien autopsies or Martian pyramids. It'll only come from direct, factual evidence.